The periodic table is an ordered arrangement of all 118 known elements. The elements are arranged in order of their atomic number, which is the number of protons. Every time you move an element to the right, the proton number increases by 1. So the table is periodic because elements with similar properties occur at regular intervals, i.e. periodically. Therefore, the rows of the periodic table are called periods. Now, elements in the same column have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. That's the highest energy level that the electrons sit in. Now, columns are called groups in the periodic table, and the group number is equal to the number of electrons an atom has in its outer shell. And we can use this to predict chemical properties because all elements in a column have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. And if that is the case, then they'll have similar chemical properties. So this means that they'll all react in a similar way if they're in the same group. So in the periodic table, the rows are called periods and the columns are called groups. And before scientists discovered subatomic particles, those are the protons, neutrons, and electrons, they tried to sort elements by their mass. Now today we rank elements by their atomic number, which is the number of protons in an atom's nucleus. So John Newlands was the first chemist to devise the periodic table, and his periodic table was devised by order of mass of the elements. However, that table was incomplete, and there were some elements were placed in inappropriate groups, so it didn't quite work the way he set it out. Then Dmitry Mendeleev realized that there may be some undiscovered elements, so he added gaps to Newland's table to account for those undiscovered elements. He even predicted the properties and masses of these undiscovered elements. He's a very clever guy. Now, the discovery of protons and isotopes has shown that Mendeleev ordered elements exactly by atomic number. Remember, that's the number of protons. Therefore, the modern periodic table looks very similar to Mendeleev's periodic table, except that the gaps are now filled because we've now discovered some of the elements that weren't discovered at the time that he came up with the table. So, just to recap, today we rank elements by their atomic number, which is the number of protons in an atom's nucleus. The name of the two scientists that were main influencers of the modern periodic table were John Newlands and Dmitry Mendeleev. And in terms of the periodic table, remember you've got periods that run horizontally, so that's across, and you've got groups that run vertically, they go up and down. Now, the elements of the periodic table can be roughly divided into metals and non-metals. There are more metals than non-metals in the periodic table. And in the periodic table, metals are found on the left-hand side and non-metals are found on the right-hand side. So when metals react, they lose one or more of the negatively charged electrons they have to form a positively charged ion. And some of the properties of metals are that they have a high melting and boiling point. They're good conductors of heat and electricity generally, and they're all solids except for one, which is mercury, when they're at room temperature. And in terms of non-metals, they're, as I said, found on the right-hand side of the periodic table because they have many electrons in their outer shell. When non-metals react, they either gain electrons to form negatively charged ions or share electrons to form neutral molecules. And some of the properties of non-metals are that they have lower melting and boiling points. They're often found as gases at room temperature, and generally they don't conduct heat or electricity. So to recap those properties of metal, they conduct heat and electricity. All of them, except mercury, are solid at room temperature, and they have a high melting and boiling point. So metals are found on the left side of the periodic table because they have few electrons in their outer shell. And how did Dmitry Mendeleev revolutionize the periodic table? So he didn't discover all remaining elements, but he just discovered that there were gaps in the elements that we knew, and he left those gaps empty. Properties of metals are that they are good conductors, they have high melting and boiling point, and all of them except one, which is mercury, are solids. And just to recap from an earlier module, atomic number is the number of protons in an atom's nucleus.